guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary, middle, and high school age. We are finishing up our 12th year of homeschooling this year, which it's insane, but it is what it is. If you are not subscribed, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you are notified of all of my future videos. Today, I am going to be sharing a week of planning from behind in my Erin Condren teacher planner. Now, typically when I do homeschool planning, I do Sunday homeschool planning and I will sit down and I will write out all of the things that I want to do in a week. And I do write tick boxes or check boxes, but sometimes we'll check them off, sometimes I don't. So I will usually go through and write out everything that I want to do in a week for homeschool. I do that weekly. It just works really well for my brain to do that and to have an understanding of what I want to get done for the week based on the things that we have going on outside of the house, as well as just benchmarks that I have for our year in general. I spend a lot of time in the summer really figuring out what I want our rhythm to be like, and it doesn't always go as planned. In fact, if you've watched any of my homeschool updates for this year, you will know that our fall was really crazy. The first semester kind of got away from me once the kids were back in public school. And Emma was participating in a couple of public school activities, which really messed with our day-to-day schedule that I had created before we knew that she was going to do any public school activities. However, now we are in the second semester where we are right at the tail end of our year and we've gotten back on track with everything. Emma is not in public school activities anymore. So typically I will do Sunday planning. However, this past weekend, I seriously considered taking the kids and driving to Florida with my mom to visit some family. It didn't end up working out, which is totally fine, but I did not have enough time to plan out this week. Now, we have about 3 weeks of school until our next week off. I came back into this semester doing a 6 weeks on, 1 week off schedule. However, because we start our new curriculum typically in July, we don't have that many more weeks of school anyways. We do have a little bit more in math, and then Emma will also have a little bit more for biology. I've talked about this a few different places in some of my other planning videos and homeschool videos, that biology was a real struggle for us in the fall until I got the little USB drive that goes with the Apologia Biology. And then I didn't end up getting that until right before we went on our long winter break for the month of December. So we didn't really start using that USB drive until January. So it pushed us way back on biology. She is going to be finishing up all of the modules probably at the end of April or maybe like the first week in May, but we are pushing the dissections off until it's warm outside. Not so warm that it smells awful, but warm enough that our fingers are not freezing, because I don't want to do dissections in the house. No matter how many times they tell me that everything is triple washed, it still smells, let's be honest. That was a lot of talking, guys. So I didn't plan my school this week yesterday. So I am going to do reverse record keeping or planning from behind for this week. So each day I will sit down and I will write out what my kids have worked on. I do this anyways with any of their interest-led learning. I will make notes of what they are doing on their own, or if they are doing additional things throughout the week, I do make note of that. I keep everything in this planner for the year. It's a good record for me, especially because in my state we have to do teacher reviews. And so this helps me compile a lot of that extra information that maybe I don't have physical worksheets for. We don't really use any worksheets anyways. So I'm going to start with Lucy because she is my easiest child to do. I don't know if this is going to fit in the frame, so let me check. So I do color code everybody, and this little coral color is Lucy, but I've tried some different colors. These are the Erin Condren dual tip markers. I wanted her to be pink, but this pink is just a little too light, and I haven't found a pink that I like because Emma's this magenta color, and I need it to be different enough that it doesn't cause any issues. So let's see. Today she did 2 lessons in Singapore math. She is using Singapore 2B right now. She's finishing that up. She also did her copywork for week 30. We do the copywork with the Sonlight Language Arts for the younger grades, and Jack does do the mechanics for the middle school levels, and Emma does all of it for high school. So she did that. She read 1 chapter in her book, which is a Nancy Clancy book. We read about the Gutenberg Press. In history, in Story of the World, we're using volume 2, which is medieval times. I think that's what it's called. So we read that. For science, she did some Scratch. And this is all we're doing for science at this point, is she's just working on Scratch a few times a week with Jack. And now she is outside running around. She packed her backpack full of tools, and she is trying to find animals and playing with the chickens. This is what she did for school today, and we did not do a read aloud today yet, but I probably will do something later. Right now it is about 2:30, and Emma just came in from her run and is taking a break right now, and Jack and Lucy are just outside playing. So Jack today, he entered answers in teaching textbooks for his test, and then the lesson that he did on Friday, and he has 1 lesson that I think that he's going to do when he comes in. Entered answers, teaching textbooks. Jack has been asking me to print out his teaching textbooks lessons lately. This is something that I have done for Emma for several years now. She just likes to do the lesson on paper and then enter her answers, and that is totally fine with me because it is what works for them, and I really like that teaching textbooks has that option. We had tried Shorman Math for Emma, and even though it said that it could be adapted to kind of a hybrid approach with the analog and digital formats, it was really not a good fit for us. I know a lot of people love Shorman Math, but it was really not good. So we went back to teaching textbooks, and having the ability to print out the lesson and have the kids work through the lesson and then enter the answers is really good. So he did that. He read and did his Wordly Wise. He also edited and uploaded a video in Premiere Pro and YouTube, was working on Photoshop today, making some sort of graphic for something. I will write down extra things for the kids that they are doing that don't necessarily have anything to do with the work that I assign to them, and that just helps me keep track of everything that they are doing that is extra, because I want to make sure that they are working on their interests as well as working on the things that I find important. And I've actually been thinking a lot about this as Emma's going into 3rd year high school level work next year, just making sure that I am not dulling her love of learning because I'm so focused on a school at home, college prep track. Do I want her to be able to go to college? Absolutely. Do I need to be so regimented in the coursework that I'm choosing for her in order for her to go to college? No. And I have been reading a lot of books lately. I think that when you first start homeschooling, you have the struggle that you don't know if you're doing enough. You don't know if you don't know if you're doing enough. Are you teaching the right things? Are your kids in the right levels? Do you have the right resources? Is there something more that should be happening? You don't have that confidence when you first start homeschooling. But then you get into a groove and you figure out a system that works for you and that works for your family. And then you get to high school. And honestly, a lot of those same concerns and trepidations and things that I had when Emma was 6, I am now having when she's going into junior level work in high school. And it's not something new. It's been happening over the past couple of years. Am I preparing her well enough? Is she taking enough math? Is she doing enough advanced level work? Is she reading enough books? Is she reading the right books? You know, all of those questions come up, and it's a struggle because, you know, you kind of have 2 tracks for homeschooling that I've noticed in the homeschool community online. You have the really rigorous college prep track where your kids are starting community college classes or dual enrollment classes pretty much freshman year. And then you have almost like an unschooling track where they are still just following their interests and really focusing on portfolio type work, but it's hard to kind of balance the two. I don't see anybody doing a lot of interest-led learning in addition to making sure some of these benchmark college classes are taken. So it's a struggle for me to kind of manage all of that in my mind, but I do want to keep track of all of the interests that the kids have. And I do have a bunch of ideas for next year, and I've been having a lot of conversations with Emma and Jack, and I will continue to as we start to buy new resources and look at curriculum and projects and all of the things for 2023-2024. So guys, I am a chatty person when I'm talking about homeschooling. He did World Watch. We're waiting on mealworms for his Science Unlocked kit, so he has not started that. I think they're supposed to be here tomorrow so that he can finish his last Science Unlocked box for the year. I do have a review of Science Unlocked and our experience with it this year. I loved it. I loved it so much. I really recommend it for middle school science. I think it's really, really good. And it's a lot of self-directed learning, which I appreciate. I will leave a link in the description box for that video. And I also do have an unboxing video, and I went through all of the things that came in each of the boxes that we chose for Jack for this year. He emailed me his paper from last week, so I printed that out. Yes. He also worked on main studies. He was working on farming today. He looked up a recipe for blueberry cobbler, I think is what it was, or blueberry crisp. And he also was taste testing white sugar versus maple syrup, which is always fun in the morning. So he did that, and I think that's all he has worked on. He does still have his last teaching textbooks lesson he needs to do today, and I'm gonna have to ask him if he did anything else. Now over here, I'm going to put history. Purple is everybody's color, but it's typically more for just Jack and Emma because Lucy doesn't really do as much with everybody else. Although that's not true today. She was drawing a portrait of Jack while I was reading history. We finished book 8 of A History of Us by Joy Hakim, and we did habit 5 in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, which I love that book, and I think that everybody should read it. It's really good. I had to read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People in college for one of my marketing classes or business classes that I took. It's really, really good. However, the author is really trying very hard to be hip with the conversations of the teens when he wrote this book. So most of the conversations are really not applicable to my kids because they don't go to public school. And so they don't deal with the same public school issues that he is writing to. But the content of the habits themselves is really, really good, and I definitely recommend it. Next, we have Emma. I am actually going to write that we did Monday meeting here, chatting about 2023-2024. That's crazy. Emma, this morning, she did Spanish, day 154, plus she did chapter 10, quiz 3. She is finishing up the Screw Tape Letters, which she read this morning. She also did World Watch. She did one lesson of constitutional literacy. She did Wordly Wise. She did half module biology plus questions. We talked about her compare and contrast paper that she has to do this week. She'll be starting that this afternoon. She is working on animation right now. She went for a run today. Oh, she did geometry, one lesson. She might do another lesson this afternoon, depending on how she's feeling. I think that is everything that she has been working on today. Now, obviously, some of the notes that I'm making may not make sense to you guys, but based on everything else that I've written over the past, several, 9 months or whatever, eight months, I know where she is in all of these things. So these notes just help me kind of compile where she is and where she needs to be. I will write portrait drawing. We did spend quite a bit of time Emma and I discussing next year's science, trying to figure out if we want her to go the route of chemistry or if we want to do kind of like a piecemeal nutrition type science class, health and wellness, a little bit different, maybe more on local food versus commercial agriculture, that farm science, that kind of thing. I think she might be interested in, and Jack might be interested in that as well. So that might throw a wrench into my plans for physical science for him next year. But we had a lot of conversation about that as well. So each day what I'm going to do is I will just come and write down what we are working on. And at the end of the week, you will see what we've done in a week in our homeschool. So that is Monday. And I may end up actually coming back later if the kids do anything else that I just need to make a note of. But for right now, we're gonna close up Monday. Hi guys, welcome back to Tuesday. It's Tuesday afternoon. It's about 3:30 and we just got back from the dentist. Lucy had a dentist appointment. So our homeschool day was a little more abbreviated today. I didn't do any read alouds or history with the big kids. Emma, did you see what I just did? I wrote out everybody's name again. Don't need to do that. I'm so dumb. All right, so today Emma had her Spanish chapter 10 test. She's almost done with Spanish, which is so exciting. She is still reading the Screw Tape Letters. She's also reading the Twilight series right now, which is why the Screw Tape Letters has been pushed off, because she wants to watch that. She did World Watch this morning, oral report of that, current events. She did Wordly Wise. She finished her biology module today and the questions. So she just has to study for the test and take the test, I think, this week. She has a study guide, although she might have a video of a lab that we're not doing that I was going to have her watch instead. I have to look and see. So planning from behind, typically you are writing what your child does. A lot of it is interest-led learning. A lot of that project-based learning is very conducive to planning from behind, because you're writing down what your student is doing with their project, with their interest-led learning. But because I'm also trying to keep track of the work that I have assigned to them or that they just need to do each day. She didn't do constitutional literacy today. She worked on her compare and contrast paper. She has been working on an animation, but I can't remember what it's called. She's told me a few times, but I just have not kept up with that. She did go run. Well, she's out running right now. And what was the other thing that she was working on this morning? I think that was everything. I don't think I'm going to have her work on anything this afternoon. I'm just going to let her take a break, and that is good. Lucy did one lesson in Singapore this morning. She did her second copy work for language arts, worked on some sentences. She did her Bible. She did Story of the World. The other thing that she has been working on is paper crafts. So we look up YouTube videos of like origami and stuff, and so she will just sit and make paper crafts. So that has been a lot of fun for her, and she's working on her outside time as well. Jack did teaching textbooks, lesson 93. He's still reading The Hunger Games, book 3, Wordly Wise. He did World Watch. He started a new paper called Best Day Ever. So he'll be working on that for the rest of the week. Week 33, mechanics, Sonlight. I think that was everything. He is still working on a video, editing video, and he's outside running right now as well. Okay. And then I didn't do anything for history or read alouds today because I had to bring Lucy to the dentist, so I just wasn't here to work on that stuff with the kids. I have been reading through the Teenage Liberation Handbook, How to Quit School and Get a Real Life and Education, and it's really interesting. I mentioned this in my daily planning video, which I don't think will be out before this video, but this whole beginning section is really about it's written to teenagers, and it's convincing your parents to take you out of public school. So I really just skimmed the beginning of this. I've had a lot of conversations with Emma and Jack about interest-led learning, what we want to do for next year. I'm afraid that I'm being too strict with my college prep guidelines. Obviously, I want them to go to college, but I know there are a bunch of different ways that you can manage that. And so I don't want school to become super tedious and lose the love of learning, which this past year has been some of the subjects that Emma has been doing, and even main studies for Jack have not been great choices. And we had such a good year last year for everybody for homeschool curriculum that it was kind of a letdown, and we haven't done as many things as we wanted to do. So I'm trying to get back into thinking the way that I think about elementary school and, love of learning, exploration, getting outside, doing all kinds of fun things, following the rabbit trails, and not always being concerned about, we're not at this point in geometry or Spanish or whatnot. It is a little bit harder, Emma's Spanish class is 180 lessons. And so we do double up some days, and those are kind of long days for learning a foreign language. And, but we do that because we want to be able to finish in time, and we don't want to have to do a lesson every day for 180 days. That's a lot. So that is kind of a lighter day for Tuesday, but I'm pleased with what was done, especially because Emma did have her Spanish test today, and it's a beautiful day out. I think it's gonna either snow or rain tomorrow again. So that is Tuesday. Okay guys, here we are, Wednesday, March 22nd. I did realize that I haven't been writing down Bible, which my kids do every morning on their own. Typically, I will write things that we are going out to do over here, or maybe some things that I plan that are just not really necessarily things that we're doing within our school day. So because I'm doing some planning from behind, I have mentioned this a couple of times in this video, I'm sure, I'm not keeping as much detail on some of the things that I would typically write out. Like typically what I would do if I write the screw tape letters, I would write specific chapters that I want her to be working on. And but right now I'm just writing she's reading screw tape letters. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Same thing with like 2 lessons of Singapore over here. I don't need to write the particular lessons down, just that we're doing it. And then as we're going through the week, especially for Lucy, if I see, okay, she's already done 5 lessons this week for math, we probably don't need to do math on Friday, unless we were behind or whatnot. The same thing with really any of the things that we're doing. I can kind of have a good understanding of what needs to happen. And that's mainly because I've just spent so much time working on pre-planning. So I know exactly what I need to do, when it needs to be done. I have really good benchmarks in place. That is all of my summer homeschool prep. And then I do revisit it monthly on my monthly reset day, which I've done videos in the past about my monthly reset. And that is really just so that I have a good understanding of everything that we're doing. Because oftentimes, if I'm not checking in regularly, either I feel like we're behind or we are dropping things that we shouldn't have dropped. This is just the thing that works best for me. So today, Emma did 2 Spanish lessons. She is almost done. She has 2.5 weeks left of Spanish, which she's going to be very excited about. I don't know if she actually looks at the calendar. We use the BJU Press Homeschool Hub for her Spanish, and there is a calendar on there, and I have everything scheduled out when she has to do double lessons and such. So they give you, I think, 20 months when you purchase their, I don't know if it's for all of their programs, but I know for the foreign language, which is the only thing we've used for BJU Press, or from BJU Press, they give you 20 months to complete the course, which is a little bit more manageable when you're looking at 180 lessons. We do look at that 180 lessons as within our 1 year of homeschool, so I do double up on some days. But if you wanted to take a full year to work through the course, you certainly could do that as well. Geometry, 2 lessons. She did constitutional literacy and questions, screw tape letters, did World Watch. She worked on her paper, which, what is her paper? Oh yeah, compare and contrast paper. So she actually decided on doing compare and contrast with Pride and Prejudice because she just knows those better. And so she felt like she could write a better paper if she was doing Pride and Prejudice and instead of Jane Eyre, and that is totally fine with me. I think there's a lot of good compare and contrast information in Pride and Prejudice. And when I'm using Sonlight Language Arts or Brave Writer or any curriculum, I really do use it as a tool. Sorry, you're gonna hear my washing machine is going right now. I use it as a tool because you can learn the same thing without using a particular topic or drilling down on a particular topic. You can switch things around, move things around, make it work for you instead of just relying on following every single instruction that is in the instructor's guide or that the curriculum provides. Really make it work for you. And I think that comes after a lot of experience. Obviously, when I first started out homeschooling, I was very by the book. I wanted to make sure I was checking off every single thing. I was not using a planner at all. I only used the teacher guides, the instructor's guides that come with Sonlight, as well as the other curriculum grids that I was using for like math and such. So as the years have gone on, I've really figured out what works best for my kids and myself. And so I'm never afraid to change things. And I would encourage you to be the same way. You are not going to fail your child if you switch out books, if you switch out the order of things, or if you drop something, or if you add something different. That is not going to be the end of your homeschool career. It's okay to move things around. So she worked on the compare and contrast, wordly wise. One thing that I haven't written down that she has been doing is narration every day. We had a conversation this morning, which is why it's helping me to figure out what the heck is going on. Biology, questions. She just has a few more questions in this module that I thought she had finished yesterday, but she just has a couple left. And then videos that she was watching. Her animation, I could probably write this in another notes page. And if I was doing a lot of planning from behind, I do sit down and kind of write out exactly what's going on. I kind of have like four 4 boxes, and so each kid has a box, and then I have like a together box that I will write out a little bit more detail of things that are going on. I'm not going to do that right now just because of my messy handwriting, and it involves a lot of sticky notes for the time being, but just know that you can take sticky notes and put them anywhere in your planner and then kind of compile information in a more orderly way at a later time. That's kind of what I do when I'm putting together my information for my teacher review. I will go through my planner and pick out the most important parts and summarize things and make it look much neater and easier to manage. I don't just pass my teacher reviewer my planner and a list of books. That would be a little bit much, but she right now, her animation, I wrote animation that she's working on is kind of a short of Spirited Away. She's taking a couple of the characters and making like a short later on. I'm not sure how far in the future this is, but that is what she has been working on. She is also working on her digital portfolio for her animation. Whoops, I can't spell and talk at the same time. She's working on a digital portfolio for her animation and her illustrations because she wants to start a business, and so we've been working on trying to compile that information so that she has that available when she starts her business. I feel like there's another thing, but I didn't write it down, and sometimes I will come back and work through more of this information again, like I said, with the sticky notes if I add more detail. But I think that that is everything that she's been working on today. It's been a really strong day for her, which is great. Lucy has done not a ton of school today. Singapore, 1 lesson, copy work. We just read about the Reformation and Counter-Reformation in Story of the World. So she has done her history. She has been working on slime, and she has done her reading. She needs to work on Scratch, but she does that with Jack, and I'm not sure if he's going to be working on that this afternoon or not, because I gave the kids another project that's kind of personal development type stuff, which I will talk about in a second. Jack, he did teaching textbooks, lesson 94. And the only reason I'm writing the lesson numbers is because I've been writing them. So I know that he's already done it. He's reading The Hunger Games, book 3 still. And I think that there's actually either an arrow or a boomerang for The Hunger Games through Brave Writer. I'm gonna look and see because I think that would be fun to do. And it's not one that I have done. So I'm gonna look that up. See, recording these videos is very helpful for me as well because as I'm talking through all of the things, it gives me ideas on things that I also need to do. Wordly wise and narration. We're still waiting on the mealworms. In fact, I need to check the mail and see if they were delivered today. I'm not sure if they were or not. He edited and uploaded another video for YouTube, which I think is great. He uses Adobe Premiere Pro for editing. He does like Let's Play videos, I guess, where he's describing what he's doing on video games, talking all about that stuff. I really find it fascinating because I think that it's interesting to see how he communicates what he is doing within the game. And I think that it's a great way to learn about communication and describing what you're doing and working on clear communication. So I think that's a lot of fun. He did World Watch. He worked on his paper. The kids are just eating lunch right now. Emma does have a little bit left of work to do, but I know she's planning on going outside to run, but I'm not going to write that down at the moment. Jack has not done main studies, but I think he did all of his main studies on Monday. And I think that's all I'm going to write down for right now. And then over here, this we have not done yet, but we are starting this today. This is book 10 of A History of Us from Joy Hakeem. This is part of the level 100, well, this is part of the old level 100 US history high school level through Sonlight, but they have changed the spine this year. I'm really interested actually to get that new spine because I believe Jack's going to be doing level 100 this year. I've been using the last couple of books of A History of Us. We did not finish when Emma was doing level 100 because that level I think has the most books out of any of the Sonlight levels, and it was just so heavy that we really did not focus on the modern history. We mainly focused on ancient right through the 1800s is what we focused on, and I knew that she was going to be doing 20th century world history, which is actually what she's planning on doing, what we're planning on doing next year for her history. So I wasn't as concerned about doing this part of history. Also, we have talked a lot about modern history over the years. So we are starting this today, A History of Us, book 10. Even though I have not read it yet, when I'm done recording this, I'm going to be sitting down with the kids. A History of Us. Oh my goodness. Okay, I didn't write it in the right day. I think I might need some more coffee, guys. A History of Us, book 10. We will start that today, and we will be working on habit 6, I think, in the 7 habits of highly effective teens. And then the other thing that the older two are working on right now is to write out 25 little dreams. And so my kids are working on that. I am having them write a list of 25 things that they want to do through the end of April, and we are going to hopefully work through those. I wanted them to be realistic, time-bound tasks. We talk about goals a lot in my home and homeschool and mini goals. And so I was trying to explain to them, I want you to break it down. I don't want it to be 25 just things that you want to do. I want it to be very specific so that we can actually work through them. Do I think we're going to finish 25 things by the end of April? No, but I do think that it will be a good practice, and this is going to help me as I'm starting to work on homeschool planning for 2023-2024. I've mentioned this, I think, in several places, that I have been really readjusting my expectations of high school. Emma is going into her 3rd year of high school level work. Jack will be going into his 1st year of high school level work next year, even though technically he would be in 8th grade and Emma would be in 10th grade next year if they were in public school. So I want to make sure that I'm setting them up for success. We've talked a lot about businesses lately, and they both have some business ideas that they really want to flesh out. And so in order for us to make progress on some of those interest-led passion projects, I need to really reprioritize my own ideas of what needs to be done next year for school, because it's very easy as we move into high school and as we're moving through high school to be very much school at home, public school, college prep track, and it doesn't have to be that way. And while I don't think that that's a bad direction to go, I don't want to stifle my kids' love of learning in order to make sure that I'm ticking all the boxes for a traditional college prep track. I think that there's a lot more options available, and I want to make sure that we're exploring those, especially with the amount of freedom we have in our schedule to do these things. You know, if Emma wants to apprentice, she's talked a little bit lately about library science and being interested in library science. So, you know, if she has some time to go volunteer at the library, that would be good. And so I just want to make sure that I'm really having some in-depth conversation with my older kids. Lucy's different because she is just 8, so it's very different planning out her school, because I'm still really focused on reading, writing, and math, as well as exposing her to new ideas and new topics and, new history and new science and all of that kind of stuff. But with my older kids, I definitely want to take into account the things that they find very interesting and give as much weight to planning that stuff as the same amount of weight planning that as I do with planning the things that I think are really important, like Algebra 2 and Algebra 1 and science and things like that. But I don't want to get so bogged down with the things that maybe they don't find as much value in at the moment. Yeah, it's kind of a challenge to balance those the two sides of the coin, really. Okay, so that is what we have been working on today. Again, this is just a very brief note about what we are doing. Some other things that I do when I am working on planning out things, I do have, actually, let me show you. I have this daily habit tracker that I made a while ago, and I really like it because it helps keep me on track with all of the different things I want the kids to do within a given month. And so this is a free printable that I have on my website. I'll leave a link for that in the description box if you're interested. It's great for homeschooling. It's also great if you are trying to build new habits yourself, and keeping it like at your desk or in a place that you are looking at regularly, or if it's like some sort of morning routine, maybe you keep it in a plastic sleeve in your bathroom and then you take it with you as you start your day, or an evening routine, maybe you leave it on your nightstand or in a drawer in your nightstand. But the whole purpose of this is to write down all of the things that you want to do or that you want your kid to do in a month. Now, this can be subject specific. It can be really drilled down on subjects. You don't have to just put English. Maybe you want to put reading, writing, grammar, poetry, like a poetry tea time, oral narration, written narration, different papers or reports or whatever it is. You can really break it down. There's plenty of space here. And then every day that you cover that thing, you fill in the box corresponding to that day. And so at the end of the month, you have a good representation of what you are doing throughout the month. And maybe it's a month that you focus a lot on English, but you notice that you really dropped the ball on science and history. Or maybe you did a lot of science, but you didn't finish any writing projects during the month. So when you are looking at this at the end of the month, and I look at these, on my monthly reset day, when I'm using them, I am able to say, okay, next month, this is where I need to focus a little bit more of my attention, or maybe I need to rework some of my time blocking so that I'm giving more time to some of the subjects that are not being touched on as much throughout the month. So that is another thing that really helps with the planning from behind. And in the Erin Condren Teacher Planner, they do have these checklist pages, which is what I used to use for the habit tracking for my kids. But this past year, they only allowed you to get 14 total checklist pages, which for me and my 3 kids was not enough because I wanted 1 2-page spread per month per kid. So you used to be able to get 28, and maybe they will bring back more checklist pages, but they do have a checklist notebook now, which has tons of checklist pages and notes pages and all kinds of information. If you wanted to use that for multiple years for your kids, that would be something that would definitely work. But it's much smaller. It's a 7x9 notebook, but they do have that as well. So I really like that. And if you are going to utilize it a lot, I think having it in your teacher planner is great. But like I said, if you want to use my printable, I will have a link in the description box for you. So that is Wednesday's school. Okay guys, it is not Thursday right now. It is Friday. I'm going to fill in a little bit of Friday, but mostly I'm just doing Thursday right now. Yesterday was a really good day. We got a lot of stuff done, but by the end of the day, I was just not thinking about recording anything at all. I had my live stream in my Patreon community yesterday, and so during that, I was really focusing on my goals and my spring refresh that I was doing. And so writing down what the kids were doing totally slipped my mind. So Emma did 2 Spanish lessons yesterday. She is right on track, I think, to finish in just a couple of weeks, which is awesome. And she also did 2 geometry lessons, which is good. I think that she's really motivated to finish geometry, because I've said this, all of the kids have a little bit of math that is going to still be done after we finish everything else. Emma has math, and then she also has a little bit of biology and her dissections that is still going to be on the docket for her. So that is what it is. Watch. She finished her rough draft of her paper. I think she's going to work on that today. Of course, today is our screen-free day, so she might choose to finish it tomorrow and then email it to me. Yes, so Friday is our screen-free day, and when it's our screen-free day, we don't really do any online learning or computer-based learning or any of that stuff. So she doesn't enter her answers into teaching textbooks. She doesn't watch her Spanish videos. She does do work, like her, I guess her workbook and things. She does her math on paper. She does her Spanish homework, whatever. She'll read. She draws on, like, in her journal, notebook. They still do narration, wordly wise, that kind of stuff, but they're not using the computers, and that is kind of a compromise for us, that we're taking the day off from screens totally, and I'm including school from that as well, which obviously is a little bit different than most people would do on a screen-free day. I know that the screen-free days really I got from the TechWise Family by Andy Crouch. I think that's the author, and I think that's the title of the book. I'll leave a link in the description box. When we talked about having a screen-free day at the beginning of this year, but at the beginning of 2023, that I told the kids I wanted to try this, I also said, well, let's also just not do any of our online school on that day as well. My kids prefer a lot of analog learning. However, a lot of their passion projects are on the computer. Things like editing videos, things like animation and Photoshop, pretty much anything in the Adobe Creative Cloud, my kids really love doing. And so we do take a break from all of that, and then also the online school stuff. Okay, so she finished her rough draft, narration, wordly wise. She is still working on her animation and digital portfolio, which that's probably going to be something that she works on for many months. And we will probably focus a lot on this after we've finished our curriculum for the year. So we're year-round homeschoolers, and we definitely have sections of the year when we're not doing formal curriculum, but we are still learning and exploring interests and doing a lot of interest-led learning. And so this is still something that I count for school, because it is something that she's learning. It is fine arts. It is computer skills. It's also career prep, college prep stuff, trying to figure out what her plan is for after she graduates high school. The same thing with Jack. He's been working on some business ideas. We were working on Wednesday on their 25 dreams that they thought they could complete before the end of April. And so that has been talked about a lot yesterday as well. And then the other thing that we were working on yesterday, which was a lot of fun in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, was this little personality kind of assessment. We talked about the different types of learning, and Jack and Emma both told me that they are linguistic learners, learning through reading, writing, telling stories, discussion, that kind of stuff, which I already knew, obviously, but it was nice to hear them say, oh yeah, that's me. Although Emma was also saying that she is very much musically inclined and spatially inclined, images and pictures, and she was really considering like art and music. But those are 2 things that she really enjoys doing. And then we did this little assessment thing to find out whether the kids were grapes, oranges, bananas, or melons. And Emma and Jack were the complete opposite, which I thought was really funny. So we worked a lot on personality. Whoops. I guess I will write that over here actually. Personality, what type of learner, 7 habits. We started reading about communism and all of the struggles after World War II with Russia from A History of Us. It was really funny. There was a quote that I thought was really entertaining. The kids were like, oh, is that from today? Let me see if I can find it. This quote by Harry Truman: communism is based upon the will of a minority, forcibly imposed upon the majority. It relies upon terror and oppression, a controlled press and radio, fixed elections, and the suppression of personal freedoms. I believe that it must be the policy of the United States to support free people who are resisting attempted subjugation by armed minorities or by outside pressure. Talking about the Truman Doctrine, sending money to Greece and Turkey for their fight against communism. So I thought it was very interesting to read that yesterday, and the kids really enjoyed that as well. So I will write the 25 dreams list down. I had to remember to do that for Jack as well. And then let's see, what else were they working on? Emma did do some biology yesterday. Lucy did 2 lessons in Singapore. She did her history. She created a mani-pedi business and did that for a large portion of the day, which was really funny. And then she also did her reading, and that was all that Lucy worked on yesterday. I spent a lot of time yesterday working on cleaning up the house and doing a lot of other stuff. So because of that, Lucy was not as focused on school, but she is really at the end of all of her language arts, and she's really only doing Scratch with Jack, and she'll continue to do that through the summer. And we're just about done with Story of the World, Volume 2 for her history. We're done with the read-alouds that we were doing this year. I think I mentioned this in another video. Some of the Level C read-alouds just are not interesting to my kids or me, and I remember that B and C are both my least favorite cores or levels from Sonlight. Not the language arts side, but just the read-alouds part. The history is fine, the Bible is great. It's the read-alouds that some of them are just not that engaging for my kids. They weren't the first time through with Emma, the second time through with Jack, and they were not this time through with Lucy. So we just read books that we liked and from the level, and then I added some other ones, but we are done with what we were planning on doing for this year for Level C anyways. So that was actually quite good. Jack's almost finished with the Hunger Games. Wordly Wise, they're almost done with their Wordly Wise. Narration, Jack does narration on whatever book he's reading, which right now is the Hunger Games. It's the same with Emma. It just gives them practice to write out what they're reading, and they share it with me. I have no problems with their comprehension at all. They're very detail oriented when they share about their books. They can give a very concise summary of what they've read, pick out the important things. We've always done this discussion-based, literature-based learning, and so over the years they've really cultivated that that skill. It's something that we're working on with Lucy now, but Emma and Jack, they do a great job. But I have them do written narration now, just to focus on their writing, give them a little bit extra practice on something that they are interested in writing about. World Watch 25 Little Dreams. Whoops, I don't know what I think I said this yesterday. I cannot write and talk at the same time. I really struggle. I wrote breakfast and I ended it with an H instead of a T, so that was great. 25 Little Dreams. Jack finished his final draft of his paper and emailed it to me, and it was hilarious. He's really funny. It was a story about the day Lucy was born and how he came to the hospital, and he and Matt and Emma all had the flu when I had Lucy, so they wore masks at the hospital to see her. They were only there for like an hour. I was just alone by myself in the hospital, which actually was quite nice. And then at the end of the paper, he said that Lucy was shooting laser beams out of her eyes, and it ended up all being a dream. And there was some more detail. Anyways, the shock value was really funny. So he finished that yesterday. What else? I feel like he also did another video. I don't think he uploaded anything yesterday, although he may have. I don't always keep as close track of those things as I probably should. That was everything. And like I said, today is going to be a lighter day. I will come back later and update you on Friday. Okay guys, so it is about 1:30 right now, and today has gone off the rails a little bit. Everybody really essentially spent the morning reading. Everybody sat down and read for several hours. Jack finished his Hunger Games book. Emma was reading. Everybody was reading. Then Emma sat down to read through some geometry and do geometry, and she fell asleep. And so she slept out on the couch for like 3 hours, so clearly she's exhausted. Lucy made herself a little cave in one of those Rubbermaid containers in front of the fire, filled with blankets. And Jack was upstairs also laying down in his bedroom. So we've not done anything besides reading this morning, which isn't bad, but it was just a little bit different. And I have been working on cleaning and decluttering projects instead. And now everybody is watching Jack because his mealworms came in the mail, and so he is getting their habitat ready, and it's absolutely disgusting and I don't want to see it. Mealworms and Science Unlocked. And so that is essentially what has been going on today. Now, this is not typically how the day will go, and my hope is still that Emma will finish her geometry and do some biology and maybe do a little bit more stuff this afternoon. I didn't do any reading with the kids yet because everybody went and took a nap, and I just kind of turned around and noticed everybody's sleeping and while I was working and listening to my audiobook. So that is just about the end of our week of planning from behind, reverse record keeping. It's, you know, not super detailed. And like I said earlier in the video, there is plenty of space on here to make as many notes as you need to. I can go to the back of the month and there are more notes pages for after every month. Technically this is the start of April, but there's plenty of space to make notes if you need to write out extra descriptions, or if you just want to make note of worked on project, but then describe the project over here and maybe the steps to complete the project for your child, so that you're not continuously writing this out, but you know, okay, they've worked on the project Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that is my week of reverse record keeping or planning from behind. Obviously, this is the end of the year and we're just finishing up some stuff, and today clearly was a much more relaxed day, and I think that that's fine. If my kids want to sit and read the majority of the day and then take a nap, you know what? I think that's awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about in this video, please let me know in the comments, or you can always email me. My contact form is always in the description box. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.